Welcome to Between the Now and the Next podcast. I'm your host, Heather N. Justice. When I tell you to have your notebook and pen ready for this episode, I'm not kidding. You're gonna want to take notes. Today, I'm talking with Tracie Braylock. She is a holistic nurse educator and the author of Radical Relaxation, Releasing the Stress You Were Never Meant to Carry. As a former operating room nurse, she advocates for mind, body, and spirit well-being. Tracie teaches classes and lectures on issues related to holistic wellness, self-care, and healing lifestyles. She is an entrepreneur, a podcast host, a coffee connoisseur, and a lover of nature. Her work has been featured on Hallmark Mahogany and Proverbs 31 Ministries, just to name a few. I hope today's episode provides you with insight, encourages you to sift through the busy, and find radical relaxation. Here's my conversation with Tracie Braylock. Hi, Tracie. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad to be able to talk to you today. So I have your book here. I've taken my notes, and I love your writing style, first of all.
Thank you.
I love that you are loving and caring, but yet straight to the point, and you kind of give those hard truths a little bit that maybe are hard to say, but they need to be said and people need to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to say it with loving kindness.
You
but
succeed.
share the truth.
Yes. And I love that you immediately address about the false narratives that people tell us. When I read this, I was like, I am into this. You said about that false narrative that God never gives us more than we can handle. And man, how often do we hear that? So often.
Yeah.
You state that in your book pretty early on. And then you also said, God will do things to get our attention, to make us stop relying on ourselves so much and rely on Him more.
Yes, absolutely.
That was so good. So yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I want people to be careful. Sometimes the cliches or the things we hear often, we begin to adopt those things as our own practices, the way we think about things. But is it the truth? I think that, again, even though it might seem tough while you're going through it, God lovingly will lean on you or take things away, or just like a parent, to get
Yeah.
your attention. Like He desires a relationship with you. And so sometimes it's not fun, but sometimes it's a gentle nudge in the right direction to get your attention. And again, not to rely on yourself. This is a partnership, and more than a partnership, like we need God to do anything.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's important that we are paying close attention to what we're listening to and believing, because it could be detrimental.
For sure. And then immediately following up after that, you talk about our God given identity. And I have chronic illness myself. And I love that you say you are not your diagnosis. And I think that's so important for people to hear. I was having dinner with a friend last week and talking about some of my health things. And she said, it's so important, though, for you not to give up or not just to give in to this diagnosis or to these health issues, because then once you do that, your body starts to just give up.
Yes, yes. You have to realize that that mind body connection is real. And
Yeah.
whatever you're telling yourself, your body knows if you're not fighting. Your body knows when you've given up. And so you want to partner with yourself, really, and try to encourage yourself, remain hopeful, and to look for solutions. Oftentimes, we hear certain words, certain diagnoses, and there's a sudden sense of doom. But the
Hmm.
reality is there's still so much that you can do, even as you walk and live with the condition. And so I want people to realize healing still takes place. Like, don't give up. Keep
Right.
looking for answers. Keep trying. Because the same way our body can like turn on and off certain things as we
Yeah.
live. And so let's keep trying. Let's keep trying to turn on those healing genes and things. I want people to remain encouraged.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like here in the States, it's so difficult because of Western medicine, right? I hear that so often from people, and myself included. Insurance doesn't cover a lot of holistic or functional medicine doctors and things like that. And instead, they just want to give us medicine and those medicines come with symptoms and side
Absolutely.
effects and all of this, and they're just really masking the root problem.
Right. That's very true. That's why I love what I do. It's a holistic and integrative approach. And so it combines those practices that aren't necessarily Western medicine, but it doesn't completely abandon the Western medicine model. It's a combination to help you get the results you need. We all have nuance in our health and our story. And so, as many tools as you can possibly use, that's what I advocate for. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Because there are cases where the medication is needed, and that is
Mhm.
what takes care of the problem. But it's good
Right.
to have the holistic approach
Right.
also. Throughout the Bible, you write this in your book, throughout the Bible, God tells us that going back to the God given identity, He tells us that we are very good, healed, chosen, and redeemed. And that goes back, I feel like, to not giving up and not just giving in to your diagnosis and accepting that as your identity.
Right.
And I love that you reference those scriptures where he does say those things to us. And going directly into the next thing is that we have to be grounded in the Lord.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I just started learning probably last year about what grounding really means because I don't know if this is how you feel, but I've
Hmm.
been a Christian all my life. I grew up in the church and all of that. And I think so many times that the church thinks these kind of things sound a little woo woo,
Hmm.
if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's unfortunate because there is benefit to grounding, the actual practice of
Absolutely.
grounding and putting your feet on the
Hmm.
grass. And
Yep.
there is benefit to those things like reducing inflammation in your bodies. I just ordered a grounding sheet for my bed,
Yeah.
actually. But there's all kinds of things, right, that
Right.
benefit us. The spiritual aspect that you're talking about here in your book is grounding ourselves in the Lord because when we're detached from the Lord and his truth, then we're not going to be as effective at managing our stress. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. First, some of it I believe is just a lack of understanding. That can make something seem woo woo simply because you don't understand. And I hope that in the work that I'm doing, that I'm bridging a bit of that gap. These are practices, and this is how it works, and this is why it's beneficial. The earth is amazing, and there are so many beneficial things. Again, if we're made of dirt, we're made of the earth.
Yeah.
That's the minerals, the electrical system of the earth. All of those
Yes.
things help our body. But again, if you just think it's dirt or grass or there's no context to it, you don't understand that there's this symbiotic relationship between you and the earth, between you and nature. I think it's so important in healing for us to spend time in nature. I always talk about this, whether it's listening to water, the birds, whatever, just seeing a picture of nature has the ability to calm us, to heal us. And so, yes, those things aren't necessarily made up or woo woo, like they actually have tangible effects. I think it's important to be open minded and expand what we know, expand our understanding so that we can, again, realize more of the healing. And what do I mean by that? I think sometimes we don't realize that God has already given us the tools or they're right next to us, but we don't know how to utilize them. It's a wrench, but I don't know what to do with a wrench. Do I hammer with it? So I think sometimes it's just making it plain, helping people to understand this is how it works. And this is why it makes sense to do such a thing. And it's not just something we're making up and trying to push on you.
Yeah.
God has given us amazing resources. Now let's walk together and learn how to use them to benefit us. So, yes,
Yes.
as far as healing is concerned, I think we should be patient sometimes. I think that we don't realize how many things came together to maybe cause us harm, and it could
Mm,
be a combination of things because I believe this also. The things that we've experienced, the things that we think about as far as the things we've experienced, if we think, oh, that was the most horrible thing that could ever happen to anyone, our body begins to respond to that situation in that way. And so I feel like that about stress. That's why I wrote the book. If we're not aware that we have a lifetime of these issues accumulating, they can begin to have a tangible impact on you
Yes.
from, changing what's happening chemically inside of your body, just so many different things. And so I think
Right.
it's important that we are honest with ourselves about what we've lived through, what we've experienced, and try to kind of unwind those things so that we can heal. I know healing, the fullness of it, may not happen on this side, but there's so much we can do to contribute and participate along with God in our own healing.
Man, that's so good and so true. I find myself most connected with the Lord when I'm at the beach.
Me too.
That's Do you? The waves and the birds and my feet in the sand, and I don't know if it's because there's so many
Mm,
sensory experiences, but that's where I just feel closest to him, just
yeah,
sitting there, closing my eyes and listening to everything around
yeah,
me and feeling the sun and the sand, and
right.
it's just such a calming,
Mhm.
relaxing place for me.
Yeah, I agree. It causes you to slow down and to recognize that we can kind of contribute to our own chaos, whether it's the thoughts that we're having, the news, the
Yeah,
social media. We're contributing to some of our own stressors. And so being in that environment allows you to slow down and to recognize how beautiful the world actually is, the gift that God has granted us, to be present and to experience it. So it leaves me in a space of awe, really,
yes,
look out at the water and you go, "Oh my goodness, this seems to go on forever." It's like
exactly.
it puts you in a different space and it makes me just in awe. I'm very appreciative when I'm at the beach, hearing the waves, everything about it is it's calming, it's restorative, and it just kind of aligns you with the Lord.
Absolutely. Yeah. What you said about how we need to untangle some of these
Mm,
things, like our experiences that may have happened to us, and how we kind of overcome those things in order to release the stress that we're
mhm,
carrying.
mm,
And you talk about this later in your book, how sometimes the emotional pain that we're carrying can actually manifest into a physical pain in our bodies, and how we can get trapped emotions. I go to a chiropractor, and NET is actually a method that he uses. It's like muscle testing, basically. So he'll check my body, see where he thinks I need an adjustment. Then some of those areas are related to emotions in our body.
mhm,
And so then he goes, okay, is it doom? Is it this? Is it that? Is it sadness? Is it anger? And then once he pushes my arm down, he tests my muscle reaction, and then he's able to target whatever emotion is stuck. It's been incredible because we go through those times. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. And he's able to help pinpoint things onto what age
mm,
that I was feeling that.
right.
And he's like, "Okay, so you're sad," and it was between the ages of 13 and 16, and then he'll be like, 13, 14, oh, 14, okay, that's where it is. And then he's like, where were you? Think about it." And it's very interesting how those emotions can get stuck, and sometimes
Yeah,
we don't even realize.
right.
I have found that method to be very helpful in some of my
Mhm.
healing, both obviously emotionally, but in the physical pain in my body at times. And it's amazing how we're all interconnected. All of that matters. Like you said, the body, mind, and soul, like all of it is connected.
As far as my practice is concerned, we are taught as a holistic nursing specialty that we have to reflect. Self reflection is like a principle of the work that we do. And so, in doing that, it causes you to face those things. You have to really sit there and deal with yourself and think about things. It's a challenge to show up for others when you're masking your own pain. And so
Yeah.
sometimes you need a partner, sometimes you need a care provider. It's for you, it's your chiropractor who can sit with you, who can walk along with you on that journey and identify those things that maybe you forgot about, or maybe you just didn't want to deal with it because it was painful at the time. But to have someone to navigate that with you and to help you get it out of your system is very powerful. That's a great healing practice.
Yeah. For me, I know that a lot of times if I'm going to sit down and relax
Mhm.
on the couch, I almost feel guilty because
Mm.
I'm thinking of all of the things that are on my to-do list that I need to get done, and I'm like, "Okay, well, at least let me throw in a load of laundry in the washer while I'm just sitting here. Let me at least get that done." But like you said, the busyness of everyone's lives, it really is difficult and hard for us to slow down and give ourselves permission to do that. And so, how can someone learn to see relaxation as necessary and not indulgent or an optional thing?
Well, first, I believe it's a practice. It's a practice that you have to kind of unlearn some things and you have to retrain your mind. I
Mhm.
completely understand what you're saying. When you want or need to take a break and you're like, I have 30 other things that I could and should be doing. I completely understand that. But understanding that relaxing isn't like self indulgent. It isn't, you neglecting other responsibilities. You're actually tending to yourself. When are those moments when you pause and genuinely care about you as you're looking at that to-do list? I get it. I'm married, I have 4 children.
Yes.
I get it. Like,
Yeah,
there's always something to do. And so you
sure.
have to understand that you can build relaxation into your day, into your week, into your life plan simply because it's necessary. It's healing, it's beneficial. It has the exact opposite impact on you that stress does. And so when you start to look at it like it's a healing practice, it's a way of caring for myself and my longevity, it's a way of
Mhm.
honoring God with my life. You know what I mean? You're not just tossing you to the side as you go down that to-do list. When you
Yeah.
begin to reshape your perspective about it, I think it begins to come a little easier. But again,
Yeah.
it's a practice. It's something that you have to do every day, even if it's a couple of minutes. Do it every day because it's like a muscle. And the more you do it, the stronger it gets. Now, that doesn't mean you can just sit there for 24/7, endlessly
Right.
relaxing. Of course, you have to get up and do other things, but being intentional about making that a practice in your life is so beneficial.
Yeah. So I'm single. I'm not married. I don't have children. I just have two little dogs that
Mhm.
require my attention.
Yeah.
That's it. And half the time when I'm relaxing, they just want to be right beside me. So,
Yeah.
um, but I still have the to do list and all of that. But you and other listeners, they're married, they have children, maybe not 1, but maybe 4 or more. What are some practices that maybe a parent that goes to
Mhm.
work and comes home and then has to cook dinner and do the laundry, the busy wife, a busy husband, how can they incorporate just a small amount of relaxation in their day every day?
Yeah, they're simple, but yet if they're not your practice, it might take some time to get used to doing them. When you get up in the morning, instead of reviewing that to-do list in your mind, write it all down. Get it out of your head, put it somewhere. You can come back to it throughout the day. That way you're not carrying the weight of all of those thoughts along with you. The morning practice doesn't work, do it at night. Write down what you need to do for the next day or write down everything you're thankful for that happened that day. Just somewhere where you can intentionally think about things. And when you do that gratitude practice, that also helps to calm you. It reminds you, wow, there were some really good things that happened throughout my busy day. Also, I listen to music, and most of the time it's like instrumental or it's those nature sounds that I talk
Mhm.
about. That's one way to kind of calm and drown out all the other noise. I love essential oils. I will turn on a
Mhm.
diffuser, and that's kind of like a trigger for me to just everything's fine, calm down, breathe for a minute. Whatever
Yeah.
works for you. Again, I like to give people as many tools and resources as possible. So if you want to meditate, meditate. If walking is your thing, go for a walk. If all you have time to do is stand outside on the grass in the morning holding your cup of coffee, do that. Do small things. You don't have to make it like a big event throughout your
Yeah.
day, but there are ways
Yeah.
where you can incorporate it where, maybe you have to put it on your phone as a reminder or a notification. Hey, it's time to pause and breathe for a minute. Whatever you need to do in order to make this your practice, that's what I think you should be doing.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, really, like you said, as simple as just taking your cup of coffee outside in the grass
Yeah.
and having 3 minutes to yourself. That's so good and reassuring too,
Yeah.
I think, because it doesn't have to be a big event, and I think
It
that's what a
doesn't.
lot of times we feel like, "I need a day of relaxation," and then you're like, "But I can't have a whole day."
Right. Right.
But no, that's so good. Sometimes the things that I thought were gonna relax me, like
Mm.
I had a garden
Mhm.
and I was trying real hard, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of work too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So a lot of my plants have died.
Mhm.
But I'm like, "Oh, but look, I can keep a succulent alive."
Right.
And those are still really pretty to look at. So
Right.
I just have to change my mindset now
Right.
and say, "I tried
Exactly.
that, it's okay, but now let me get some succulents because those are still
Right.
relaxing to me and they don't
Yeah.
require as much work."
Exactly. Yep. And you found a way that works for you. That's
Yeah.
what it's about.
I hope somebody listening wrote some of those down because those are good ideas for how to relax. So, what advice would you give to someone who maybe feels guilty for saying no to meetings and events or invites from their friends in order to protect their well being?
Boy. First, I want you to know that you don't have to feel guilty for saying no. Thankfully, I'm good at it. I've practiced it. And you have to realize that you're saying no to something or you're saying yes to something and
Mm,
you're just picking and choosing. Are you
yeah,
saying no to an event that you might have to plan? What are you going to wear? How long is it going to take to travel to get there? Are they really pouring into you or did you just show up because you thought you needed to be in that space? Really address your reason behind doing things. Don't feel guilty about managing your time well, your energy well. Being able to say no and knowing that you're not doing it any kind of malicious intent. You're not being neglectful of relationships or anything like that.
right.
Really paying attention to why you're doing it. And then that can weed out some of the other stuff that your mind makes up of like, oh, I should have been there. Should you?
Right.
How did that enhance your life
Right.
versus actually taking a moment to take care of you? We're in a really tough place when we are questioning if our own care is meaningful enough. That's really interesting that we've gotten to that point where we have to negotiate with ourselves of whether or not, oh, can I afford to relax for 5 minutes? Or do I have the mental space to go to this event? Well, when I get there, am I actually going to be present? Or am I thinking about everything else that I need to do? Self awareness is very important. It will help guide you in making decisions and not feeling bad, not feeling guilty, not feeling like you need to make up an excuse. No is a full sentence. Or
Yes.
schedule things differently. Maybe it was something that your friend wanted to attend and you're thinking, "Well, I do want to spend time with my friend, but maybe we can do it in a different way." Maybe you go on that walk together. Maybe you both stand outside drinking that morning cup of coffee, standing in the grass, and talking on the phone. Like,
Yeah.
find different creative ways to get similar results. And then I think some of that guilt or all the other negative stuff that can come up kind of falls away.
Yeah. The walk with a friend, that one, I have not done that in a long time. I live in Florida and it is hot right now. But I love to do that when it cools down,
Mhm.
and I like to do color walks too.
Mm,
That was something new that I've learned before I set out on the walk saying, "Okay, I'm gonna look for everything that's red."
yeah,
It makes you just more present and
right,
more aware of the moment of what's going on around you. I try not to put headphones in while I'm walking because I just wanna be present and see what's around and experience the beauty around me.
right, absolutely.
You mentioned when we first started talking about partnering with God and partnering with ourselves. Can you maybe explain what it looks like to be a proactive partner with God in our own healing process?
Sure. First, I'd start with the word. What does the word say about the healing? Because healing may go beyond the physical sense. Maybe there's some spiritual matters that needs addressing, or again, the way you've learned something, what something you've been taught. Maybe it's time for a new lesson. Maybe it's time to unravel some of what you thought you knew. And so
Yeah.
start with the word. What does the word say? What is the truth about what you've experienced? And that's the beginning of the partnership. And knowing and understanding that God is always there, always teaching, always listening. He knows what you're going through. And so to stop pretending like you have all the answers, seek God for the answers and trust that regardless of what you're going through, God really has your best intentions in mind.
Mhm.
And of course, it could feel uncomfortable, can seem so challenging. How did I get here? But again, that's the partnership of going, okay, which direction do I turn in? What resources do I utilize? All of those things, recognizing that God is there and can guide you. That's the partnership.
The book talks about releasing what you can't change. And why is this so hard sometimes? And how can faith help in that process?
Yeah. Um, I'll give you an example. I work from home. Okay. Right now, my neighbor next door has some landscaping happening. I didn't plan for that to be a part of this morning, but I can't change it. They planned for it and I have to navigate it. Okay. So I could choose to be upset. I could go yell at them and say, don't you know I have work to do? Like, be quiet. Or I can choose to go, you know what? I am not going to be distracted by that. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be here. This is meaningful to me. And this is where I'm going to focus my attention. We do harp on things that we can't control anyway. It was never meant for us to control. Why did they put that traffic light there? Or I wish
Yeah,
my neighbor never got that dog or whatever.
right.
These are certain things that we just have to let go. Again, I don't want to contribute to my own stress. I'm going to try to get rid of as many things that either have nothing to do with me or that I can't change as possible. And so, again, self awareness, what things are driving you nuts, and then decide, is that something that's within my control? Is that something that I can take action towards changing or making better? Or do I just need to redirect my attention?
Yeah.
Because it's only difficult to let go of because we don't want to.
Mhm.
It makes
Yeah.
more sense sometimes to be angry about it or to, tell everybody that it's such a problem versus realizing you can spend your time somewhere else. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so true. My favorite thing is this outside of my circle of control? And also when I look at something and if I'm getting frustrated about it, I go, not my circus, not my monkeys. Like,
Right.
just move along. You write when we are grounded in the Lord, every little comment or side eye won't disturb you. Instead of feeling attacked, you'll feel the need to pray. Instead of being offended, you'll show up to serve and still have a sincere smile on your face. When we aren't grounded in the Lord and His truth, we won't be as effective at managing stress, mending wounds, or removing ourselves from aspects of life that aren't beneficial to us. That hit me because I've done a lot of work. I was this way. I mean, I'm human, okay? We all are. My own insecurity will creep in, and I'm like, oh, they're looking at me. Oh, they're talking about me. Or I'll be so concerned about it. And when I'm in a good mental place, I'm like, oh, they're looking at me. They must like my dress.
Right.
Or, like it's not going to be a comment of, oh my gosh, do I have something on
Right.
me? Are they looking at,
Hmm.
do I have mascara running down my face? Anything like that. That's me reflecting more inward when I have those thoughts and feelings. But when I'm more focused on the Lord and grounded in Him and what He says about me, then there's going to be so much less of that I will let in.
When you have that experience, when
Mhm.
people kind of show you who they are and what they're going through and how they're thinking, or they are nitpicking, or it just seems like, wow, why did you say that? Or, oh, that kind of hurt my feelings. I always pause and I say a little prayer, just me and God. And clearly, they're either going through something or they've experienced something that has shaped their perspective. But I rarely, rarely take it personally.
Mhm.
um, and I often think it's more their problem than mine, and it's evident that it's there, and maybe they don't even know. And since that was my opportunity to see there's something a little off there, then the only thing that I can do in that situation, well, there's multiple things. You could go ahead and get angry or say something back, but I'm very intentional about praying for them. I may never know what that thing was. It could have happened 30 years ago, but God knows. And
Right.
so I can say a prayer in that moment. Lord, whatever that hurt is, or whatever is shaping that perspective that they feel even the need to say something either inappropriate or mean or rude, or
Yeah.
work with them on that. That's an opportunity for me again to partner with God, and I don't have to know their business, their story. I don't have to internalize it. It probably has nothing to do with me.
Yep.
They are probably speaking to everyone in that same manner because it's displaying their hurt. And so
Yeah.
once you recognize that, it's a lot easier to just let it go, to say that prayer and move on. One gift that nursing and working in the operating room gave me is that I may never know ever
Mhm.
what happened to a person. Did they heal fully? Did they live another 30 years after their operation? I may never know. And so I've learned to let go of stories, of situations that I just got a glimpse of. I got to be
Yeah.
present with you for a short while on your journey, but I can let it go. And so that prayer, and then I'm done. That might have
Mhm.
been the reason why they said that thing to me, so that I could say that prayer for them.
That's a good way to look at it. Very good perspective. It's very admirable from the perspective of being in healthcare and working and realizing you may not have that closure of knowing what happened or how long they lived or whatever, but that you were in their life for a reason. And I think as an empath, that would be so difficult, I feel like. But again, it's the partnering with God. God put you there for a reason. And that's such a great way to look at a situation like that. What does the healing journey look like when dealing with deep, unprocessed emotional wounds?
It has to start with you acknowledging that there's something that's happening. You might not be able to articulate it. You might not know where it started, why it's still there, but understanding something's happening. And then start. Do you have a trusted friend that you can talk to? Do you have a therapist? Someone you say, something's going on. I feel this way. Don't really know why. Sometimes it's just pen and paper. Start writing down what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and that way you can kind of explore that self reflection. You can go back and say, oh, wow, I didn't even realize I wrote this down. I didn't know I
Yeah.
was feeling that way. Being willing to heal is important. Being willing to take steps toward healing because sometimes healing is painful. Healing
Very.
doesn't always feel good, and so people can tend to avoid it, okay? And you just rather stay in the discomfort because it's not as painful as doing the whole healing work. And so recognizing what stage are you at? Maybe you're just going to take baby steps, or maybe you get into a season of life where it's like, it's time. It's time to get rid of all of this. It's time to heal fully. But again, being aware of yourself, of where you are, and then surrounding yourself with trusted people who you can share those details with, knowing that somebody is walking with you toward healing. I do believe there are wounds from your past that you need to address. I think going back in healing and getting to the root cause of some of the things you experience is absolutely vital. It starts with what's showing up now that doesn't feel right, doesn't look right, isn't in alignment with God. And so, again, just start where you are, start healing what you notice, and be open. If there are people who are close to you and they're telling you something about you, if they're trying to tell you in kind ways or subtle ways, what's up with you, or why do you think about it like that, or
Mhm.
that seems like a pain point for you, be willing to hear them because
Mm.
sometimes other people can see something that's happening with you or through you that you don't even recognize. And so I think that's
Yeah.
important. Again, having, and your friend circle doesn't have to be enormous, but having trusted people in your life who, when they notice something, it causes you to pause and be willing to address whatever it is that's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be curious and willing to explore.
So, what is the danger in masking or suppressing our emotional struggles rather than sharing them with others?
Again, they can come up tangibly. That knot on your leg that you're like, what is that thing? Because they have sort of a life and they
Uh-huh.
want to be addressed, they want to be acknowledged. They can cause real situations. And so, whether that's the way you're behaving, whether that's the way you are thinking about life right now as you navigate every day, those emotions have a way of saying, "Hey, I'm here." And either you address it or they'll find ways to just hang out with you
Yes.
until you're willing or able to do something to acknowledge their presence.
Mhm.
Every emotion isn't bad. The full spectrum of emotion is real for all of us.
Yeah.
And so, what does looking at that emotion mean to you? Are you upset that you're upset? And I always tell people, as I'm talking about this book, we're not going to stress about the stress, okay? Because some people are like, oh, I have stress, so much stress, and I don't even know where to start. Okay, no, the point of this is not to amplify the stress. The point of this is to remind you that there are solutions and ways to calm things down. And so, even when it comes to those emotions, sometimes when they're in our own minds, they seem really, really big and probably bigger than they actually are. And so,
Yep.
whether you're writing them down, whether you're talking to a friend, whether you're seeking the help of a therapist, whatever the case may be, that willingness to even acknowledge their presence is a great starting point.
I think that some people have experienced the pain and trauma at a very young age, and then they carry that with them their whole life, and they never address it ever. And it's just constantly something that is pulling at them, but they never do anything to address it because, oh, I'm too old. I don't want to have to unpack all of that again, or that happened so long ago. I'm just putting it behind me and moving on. But really, you're not just putting it behind you and moving on. It's always there, it's
Yeah.
always nagging.
It's usually showing up in everything that you're doing. But because you've normalized it or, gotten comfortable with carrying it along with you, you don't even realize the impact that it's having in your life. It is there, it is present. Those wayward comments or like, why did they say that petty little thing? You don't even realize that you're spewing that pain and that hurt that you are unwilling to address. But everyone else knows that it's there. Everyone else can see it. And maybe not everyone else, but people are like, huh, they've been through something. Other people notice, okay? Again, when people bring up something or say, why did you say that? Or why was that your response? Or what did I do to you? That type of thing, then that's an opportunity to say, oh, what's happening here? I didn't notice that I was being a certain way. Usually they're leaving a trail. If you pause for a minute to notice, you can
Yeah,
see that, oh, yeah, that might be something I want to address.
yeah. I used to always react if I was very stressed out with a work task or I had a lot that I was trying to get done. I was under a lot of pressure about something, and someone would come up and interrupt me, ask me a question, and I'm in the middle of this and I'm trying to get stuff done. I would be very short and snippy.
Right.
And it was something that I started to recognize that as a pattern in myself. And I thought, I need to get this under control because first of all, that person, most of the time they're coming to me to ask a question, not to chit chat.
Right.
And so they're trusting me and asking me something and needing my help with something. And my response is, "What do you want? I'm busy." You recognize that over time or that nobody's asking me questions. What's going on? But it took a lot for me to be like, that's on me. That's me. And so I had to address that with myself and then be self aware enough and humble myself and go to those people and apologize and say, I'm so sorry. I was under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, and that's not your fault. That's my fault.
Right.
And I apologize for the way I addressed you.
Right.
So definitely the self awareness and trying to realize where these things come from. Like, where is
Right.
this developing from? What are some of your favorite ways to relax?
The aromatherapy, the music, journaling. I write every single day, going for a walk. I try to walk every day. I have an adult coloring book, and if I don't have an adult coloring book, I'll color anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation calls for, that's what I try to do. I also try to keep those things available at all times, both to have an intentional practice of relaxing and to kind of force myself to relax throughout the busyness of the day. But anything, I think that we've villainized relaxing. And so
Mm,
we have some people who are like, but I can't go on vacation to relax or I can't go to a spa. That's fine. No problem. What can you do at home? Or if thinking that those things that you're doing at home or while you're driving in your car, can you be listening to that waterfall or whatever to kind of calm you down? Thinking that those things are insignificant when they're not. I think the full spectrum of healing and wellness requires a whole lot of tools. And so if you can go to the spa once, fine, awesome, do that. No, it shouldn't be that we're villainizing any practice. So
yeah.
for me, I like to have it all available, like a little kit almost of these tools that what can I fit in while the children are eating dinner? Can I do something right after dinner while everybody's kind of in a good place? Or
Yep.
is it something that I need to do at lunchtime? Do I put that notification on my calendar so that I remember, okay, just pause, sit here for 2 minutes, do nothing, just breathe deeply. Um, yeah, I like to utilize whatever relaxation practice I can as
Yeah.
often as I can. Yeah.
Yes. I love those adult coloring books too. They're really, really relaxing. And something else I love is your Instagram page.
Aw.
Yes. So, listeners, go check out Tracie's Instagram page. I love on there when your book first came out in May, and I went to your Instagram page and checked you out on there, and you were just starting to post with your face, like you were
Yeah.
talking. And you were like, I don't normally put these kind of posts out here. But your page is all little 1 minute, 1.5 minute reels of a relaxing scene and some soft music or nature sounds in the background. And so, listeners, if you all can go and check out her Instagram page and take that minute to minute and a half of listening and focusing on your breath and taking that time for yourself, something as simple as that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I do it. As people are scrolling and they're being bombarded with all the information, what can I do to just help somebody pause for a minute? Those nature pictures also spark healing. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I try to utilize that a lot.
Yes, it's good. I've appreciated those multiple times. So I know for me, when I'm in a period of waiting, that sometimes it can cause stress in my life, depending on what it is that I'm waiting for. So, what do you typically do in times of waiting?
Oh boy. First, it's coming to terms with the fact that waiting looks different probably every single time. And so the not knowing, is this season of waiting gonna last a year or 5 years or
Exactly.
so? It's just recognizing that it's a part of the journey. It's a
Mm,
part of the story. We all wait. It's not
yes,
like a punishment. It's a
exactly.
part of the process.
Totally. And that's why I started this podcast. Between the now and the next, everybody, like you said, everybody has these waiting periods. And what do we do in those times? Are we relaxing? Are we causing more stress in our lives? Are we talking about it all the time instead of going to the Lord in prayer about it?
Yeah.
What are some tools and things that we can do in order to make that in between time a little less stressful and something that, like you said, is more part of the journey? And then my favorite question, the
Mhm.
last question that I always ask to all of my guests. If you could go back and give advice to your younger self during a season of waiting, what would that be and what would that look like for you?
Mm. It would be to give myself more grace, to recognize that because if I'm looking at a particular season, it was probably when I decided I was going to explore doing more writing and more nursing in the online space. And I had a whole lot of ideas, but I also had a few babies at that point in time, and they were little. And so my mind was kind of cluttered, and I was struggled with the what are all of these ideas doing here now? I don't have the time to address any of that. So, in the waiting, knowing that there's so many lessons to learn in the waiting. What you're living right now is the soil for what you'll have in the future. And so what can you do to nurture it, cultivate it right now? And just be patient. I know using that word patience, sometimes it instantly causes people to want to run the other direction, but there's gold even in the waiting. So just to really give myself grace, know that you'll see the fruit later on. Trust that it's coming and be okay with now. What else can you look at
Mm,
that's happening now that's beautiful, that is something that you used to pray for, that you're living right now
exactly.
as you're waiting for what's to come?
Yeah, that's so good. I love asking that question, and I just hope that the listeners of the podcast will be able to take some of that and apply it to their own lives. Well, Tracie, this has been such a pleasure talking with you, and I'm so grateful that you took time out of your day to have a conversation about your book, Radical Relaxation: Releasing the Stress You Were Never Meant to Carry. It's a gift to us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
There will be information in the show notes where you can purchase Tracie's book and your Instagram handle. I'll put that in there as well so people can utilize the tools that you make available to us there. Again, thank you so much, and I wish you all the success.
You as well. Thank you.
Isn't it nice to know that you can make relaxation part of your everyday routine with just 5 minutes or less? I've always looked at taking time to relax as something that was a big to do. I'm so thankful that Tracie and I had this conversation and that she shared some really practical ways to add relaxation into our lives. So, as you go about your day to day, take a moment to breathe, reflect, and connect with the world around you. In the show notes, you can find Tracie's Instagram handle and the link to purchase her book. And if you want to hear more of Tracie, she has a podcast, which I'll also link in the show notes. If today's episode helped you in any way, will you share it with a friend, leave a review, and be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. All of these actions really help podcasts like mine get out into the world and reach more listeners. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, keep living between the now and the next.